Hi, I'm Scott Wolf, and this is my first Disney show and tell, where I'm going to share some things from my personal collection of Disney stuff. I've got some vintage documents and press photos, and even photos that I've taken that I think you might like. Some people have been telling me that they want to see more of my Disney collection in my videos, so I just chose two random things that I thought you might be interested in. Now, while I've got various artifacts, like this welcome mat behind me, which was from the Contemporary Resort in Walt Disney World, a lot of my things are much smaller. I love paper documents because they give us a glimpse into a certain time period, whether it's letters or attraction manuals or employee instructional booklets, or things like I'm going to show you today. I'll be showing you the Splash Mountain press kit, but first I want to have you look at this document. Now this one's really unique. It's a calendar from Walt Disney Imagineering from February 14th, 1992, and it tells everything that they were working on at that time. It's particularly interesting today, more than 30 years later, to see what panned out and what didn't. Take a look. There's Mickey's Toontown at the top of the list, which was scheduled to open in January of 1993, and that's when it did open. It's interesting that Toontown was listed under Fantasyland and not its own land yet. The second phase was the Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin attraction, which opened in January of 1994. Now here's a photo I took at the entrance of Mickey's Toontown in December of 1992, a month before it opened, and it still had that temporary sign above it. Adventureland had what they called the Indiana Jones Adventures, scheduled for 1995. Where the Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye is now, the Indiana Jones Adventures would have included the Indiana Jones Jeep Expedition, the Indiana Jones Minecart Escape, which was going to be a roller coaster, and then it says merchandise and area development. Tomorrowland lists Carousel of Progress and says on hold. Now, Disneyland did have the Carousel of Progress until 1973, and that was replaced by America Sings, which closed in 1988. I don't know if they were planning a new Carousel of Progress or if they were just referring to the building as the Carousel of Progress building, but whatever it was on hold. Now over here it mentions the Circle Vision movie. At this point, the Circle Vision movie was American Journeys, which rotated with Wonders of China from Epcot. This one would be, according to this, a modified EDL film and show. EDL was the new Euro Disneyland, which is now known as Disneyland Paris. I assume this is referring to Le Visionarium, which was the Circle Vision movie in Euro Disneyland. Some of you may remember it as the Timekeeper in the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World, but it never made it to Disneyland. American Journeys and Wonders of China remained at Disneyland until 1996, and then the 1967 America the Beautiful came back for a short time before it all became a queue for the rocket rods. There were plans for a new 3D film in the Magic Eye Theater. At that point, Captain EO was the movie there. This was probably the Honey, I Shrunk the Audience movie, which did replace Captain EO in 1994. And Anaheim's second gate was in the Blue Sky stage. This was back in 1992, and there wouldn't be a second gate in Anaheim until 2001, when Disney's California Adventure opened. Over in the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World, work was continuing on the upcoming Splash Mountain, which opened that year. Work on their new Tomorrowland included the Timekeeper Circle Vision movie and Alien Encounter, which would replace Mission to Mars. Still in the Blue Sky phase were Kinetic Jets or Orbitron to replace the Star Jets. As it turned out, the Astro Orbiter replaced the Star Jets in 1994. Also in the Blue Sky phase were the Flying Saucers, which as you can see says Carousel. This flying saucer ride would have replaced the Carousel of Progress. A version of that still remains in the Magic Kingdom today. Over in Epcot Center, many of the attraction sponsorships were up for renewal. Maybe they had 10-year contracts since this was coming up on Epcot's 10-year anniversary. There's American Adventure, which as you can see was sponsored by Coke and American Express, World of Motion, which was sponsored by General Motors, the Universe of Energy was sponsored by Exxon, The Land was Kraft General Foods, Horizons was General Electric, and Spaceship Earth was AT&T. Those were all being discussed with their sponsors to plan their future. Below you can see there were plans for a Russia Pavilion, and the Japan Pavilion had plans for a Mount Fuji ride and Japan Gallery. Disney MGM Studios was getting the new Sunset Boulevard area with the Theater of the Stars and the red car line, which never happened, although there is now a red car trolley in California Adventure. Journey to the Center of the Earth was being planned for Disney MGM Studios. I rode that, but it's not at Disney MGM Studios. It ended up at Tokyo Disney Sea in Japan, a journey where you ride deep into a volcano to see the creatures and everything inside before being shot out of it. This also shows that the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror was approved, and that did open as scheduled in 1994. Also planned for Disney MGM Studios' Cartoon Studios area was Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Coaster, Toontown Transit, and Baby Herman's Runaway Buggy Ride. There were also plans for a creepy animal show somewhere in Disney MGM Studios. That's actually what it says. I have no idea what that was. At this time in 1992, plans were underway for Animal Kingdom. Now this continues with Tokyo Disneyland. In Adventureland were plans to add the Swiss Family Treehouse, which did open there the following year. It mentions a major attraction, but it was not yet decided what it was going to be. A Fantasyland expansion was in the works, and it mentions a dark ride based on Winnie the Pooh as the major element. I'm not sure what became of all that, but Pooh's Honey Hunt ride was added in 2000. A trackless dark ride is very unique and one of my all-time favorite Disney attractions. Tomorrowland was going to get Le Visionarium from Euro Disneyland, as I talked about with the Magic Kingdom earlier. They were also adding in Splash Mountain and doing a Country Bear vacation overlay on the Country Bear Jamboree show. A Tokyo second gate was on hold at this time. The beautiful and elaborate Tokyo Disney Sea would open in 2001. And here's Euro Disneyland, which had plans for both a Little Mermaid ride and a Beauty and the Beast attraction being discussed. Neither of those came to be, and there was also Discovery Mountain, which became Space Mountain. Here's the proposed DMSE, Disney MGM Studios Europe. Those plans were eventually canceled, and the current Walt Disney Studios Park opened many years later, in 2002. For Disney MGM Studios Europe, it lists Indiana Jones, which would have been the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, like in Walt Disney World. The Sci-Fi Dine-In Restaurant, like in Walt Disney World. It says Cat Canyon, which I suppose was Catastrophe Canyon, like in Disney World. And Gangster Shootout, which I think was a Dick Tracy attraction they had planned. It was already at a ride testing stage with the Gangster Shootout vehicles, according to this. I love documents like these because they give a great glimpse into what was going on at that time, and what was planned and for whatever multiple reasons never came to fruition. This is really an obscure document, so I hope you enjoyed seeing it. The other thing I want to share with you is this Disneyland Splash Mountain press kit. Press kits like these were given out to members of the press, providing them with plenty of information and usually photos for whatever they were promoting. And this one is for the grand opening of the first Splash Mountain, which was in Disneyland in 1989. This has some great photos in it. Standing in front of the Imagineering model of Splash Mountain, here's Michael Eisner, Chairman and CEO of the Walt Disney Company, at the ground raising held for Splash Mountain in 1987. I'll show you more of these photos as I share these documents with you. This first document gives a general idea of what Splash Mountain is, along with facts such as the flume drops 52.5 feet at a 47-degree descent to achieve speeds faster than any ride built at Disneyland. And it mentions the more than 100 audio animatronics performers in the ride. It also features Disney's biggest animated prop ever, the showboat that is 50 feet wide, 30 feet high, and carries 21 animated characters singing Zippity-Doo-Dah as the ship rocks in time to the music. This next document has all the facts and figures, and Splash Mountain's storyline as well. It says, the story of Splash Mountain follows Brer Rabbit's adventures as he leaves home to search for his laughing place. Then it basically describes what you see in the attraction, and it ends with, the rabbit pleads not to be flung into the briar patch, and this prompts Brer Fox to do just that. Brer Rabbit, along with Splash Mountain guests, plunges down the side of the mountain and into the briar patch. Brer Rabbit has tricked Brer Fox again. The briar patch is really his home. Then after that, there's the technical details like the length of the ride is 9 minutes, the concrete flume track is over 2,500 feet long, approximately a half mile. There are 50 hollowed out log ride vehicles, At 87 feet tall, Splash Mountain is 12 feet taller than Sleeping Beauty Castle. And the vehicles will travel at an average velocity of 4 feet per second. This document talks about the team that designed Splash Mountain and gives some background into them, including Tony Baxter, Chief Designer for Disneyland, John Stone, Splash Mountain's project designer, and show producer Bruce Gordon. This one talks about the transition from Bear Country to Critter Country, and it gives a description of the updated land. Other possibilities before coming up with the name Critter Country were Critter Ridge and Critter Creek. This one is all about veteran actor Nick Stewart, who voiced Brer Bear in Splash Mountain. He was also the original voice of Brer Bear in Song of the South, the movie that Splash Mountain was based on. It says how he felt when he was asked to reprise the role 40 years later. He said, "I was amazed, but I was glad to do it again because I knew it would make a lot of people happy." He also talked about his time working on Song of the South. He said, "To meet Walt Disney was something else. It was a pleasure to work with and know a man like him." You know, I remember the opening of Splash Mountain so well, and now 34 years later, it's going to become Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Well, if all these documents have shown me anything, it's that there will always be change at the Disney parks as the Imagineers try to constantly top and improve their work. Let me know what you think of this new Disney show and tell video. I really do appreciate your feedback. Until next time, have a zippity-doo-dah day.